Rich, but I came from the Nile Valley. It's bittersweet, I smile sadly. Truth rarely seen like child's daddies. I'm in Hotep, I style flashy. Regarded highly, I'm Selassie. As time is passing, tribes are clashing. I know the ledge, I grow my dreads. My queen's two open legs have golden eggs, I'm hatched. 9 months had to hold my breath. Now I dream so heavy that I broke the bed. Provoke the feds that slaughter the sons. 12 get the 4-5 like a quarter to 1. The war has begun. Latin for sun, the soul and melanites get more of the sun. We the fortunate ones. Got the God in the womb and the Lord in my come, and no more means love. Death is the source that I'm from. Everything that they do, we have already done. Self-taught, my ice a melt salt. Mine high price, I write and sell thought. I felt cloth, I cannot in cotton shopping. Aquaponic, chronic options. Botanizing pot concoction. Earth a thought, her twat is rotten. Knowledge of my art forgotten. Watch the conscious sovereign doctrine. Not dishonest prophet goblins. Boxing out the box, I'm boxed in. Black magic, black yoni, black phallus. How they turn kings and queens to crack addicts. How they make us lose our sight like bad glasses. They know we invented original mathematics. Black magic, treat home like cat Sabbath. I can hear beautiful music and bad static. I attract cash in bags like that's Magnus. Last Maverick, blast fast like Zab Jab.
Peace, family. Welcome to another episode, Underground Railroad Productions. This is your host, Brother Rich, a.k.a. Black Magic.
Yes,
and I'm with, oh man, yo, for those that don't know, well, first of all, before I introduce this brother right here, let me remind everybody, Brother Panic, November 19th. You could get it on live stream at www.usalivestream.com/panic. Or you could purchase tickets at Eventbrite. You could go to Eventbrite and purchase tickets. Or you could get tickets at the door. So it's going to be a real metaphysical evening that evening. And this brother right here, family, this brother going to be in the building with his books. As you can see,
Treasures of Darkness.
Them books he got there, Treasures of Darkness, man. For those who live in the New York City area, know about this brother. This brother's an underground legend. This brother has been known to be one of the best writers that we have seen on the streets of New York City. So everybody from A.A. Rashid to Dr. Valentine to the Pills, everybody know about this brother, man. And because of social media, the brother finally released a book, and it's time for him to get his message out here to the world. Welcome to the show, brother. I've known you for years, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's a
pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
World-renowned UGR.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you, brother. You supported me for years on the streets in Brooklyn.
No doubt.
You've been into this metaphysical knowledge for years.
Yes.
Before we get into this, tell everybody who you are and what exactly you do, and why does everybody know about you?
Okay.
In New York City.
I think there's a lot more people who are gonna get to know about me, but just to start off. My background is in print journalism. I worked, starting from like the early 2000s in, hard news journalism. Like I was at crime scenes, like murders, court cases, stuff like that. And then sometime in the early 2000s, 2003, I got together with some family members and we founded a Creative Entertainment magazine that was mainly covering the reggae dancehall community. I was doing live interviews, and my writers were doing live interviews, real in-person interviews, not pulling from like some other website, but actually interviewing people. We was doing interviews with like Shaggy, Sean Paul, during that big boom of dancehall back in the early 2000s, and we was providing a platform for these artists to like get some, exposure to the media. They were kind of sort of getting that in like the hip hop publications, but we wanted to like create something that would allow them to get that in a more direct manner. So I started with that, but even, when I was, doing that, the entertainment aspect, even like freelancing with a few hip hop magazines, I've always had a strong interest and just passion for, the type of content that people would call, metaphysics and the occult. And I had columns, that I would write in that newspaper, of course, under a pseudonym, but I decided back in like 2009 to start my Mind Glow Media blog. And, I didn't really know what to expect when I did it. I just wanted to have like a platform where I could write freely on different subjects that were of great interest to me. But, you know, I probably wouldn't have put like in a mainstream magazine or a newspaper, and they probably wouldn't have run it. So I started doing that, and I just started getting a lot of positive feedback from readers. Of course, when I started, my readership was very, very small. Like I remember looking after the end of a month, like I probably was at like a few hundred readers, which is kind of pathetic, but that's how I started, and it just started to build up from there and like go into the thousands, you know what I mean? I think one of the reasons why I have developed a following amongst, you know, a lot of people in a time where video and vlogs have, you know, like become more prominent in terms of being the primary means of disseminating information pertaining to the nature of the soul, spirituality, ancient history, so forth and so on, is the fact that, you know, my writing, not only do I express original ideas that you probably won't see or hear anywhere else, but, you know, the writing is very colorful, it's very poetic, it's very creative, you know what I mean? You know, like that's something that, you know, just comes from me naturally. Like I genuinely love writing. And I think it shows in my work, and people who get the book, I'm sure that you're gonna be very well pleased and well surprised about, you know, the type of material that you get. You're not gonna get, you know, any Wikipedia information that's just cut and paste and thrown in a book. Like this is some real shit right here. And, you know, I think people will be very surprised and very pleased.
I mean, that's what's up, brother. I love it when I have people that come on the show that have books. By the way, the brothers advertised it in the beginning of all my videos this month, so you could get the information on there as well. But, you know, leaders are readers. And if you ever want to, if you study the rich because you want to emulate the rich and you want to see what habits they have, you will notice one of the first things they always say is that they read plenty of books, whether it's Warren Buffett, whether it's Bill Gates, whether it was you know, Steve Jobs, whether it's, you know, Russell Simmons, whether whoever it might be. But they all, when you get to that millionaire bracket, they always talk about reading. And in the age, like you said, of technology where everything is video, I'm trying to figure out, why does it seem that, what is it about reading versus watching a video? Because I could read this book, or I could watch you speak for 3 hours on YouTube or 3 hours on Facebook Live. What is reading this book? How does this affect me differently from watching you for a 5-hour lecture from you on Facebook Live or YouTube?
That is an excellent question, brother. I think the difference is that when you read books that are, you know, put together by competent writers who have invested themselves into the study of human psychology, have invested themselves in the study of various forms of arts, I think what you get is material that challenges you, the reader, to go inside yourself and explore your own imagination and like visualize and conceptualize what it is you're reading, and you're doing that out of your own mind. So based upon your own personal frame of reference, the richer that frame of reference is, the richer your visions are gonna be when you sit down and sit with a book. I think, you know, like reading, you know, like, I mean, you know, going to like, you know, like lectures and watching videos is a great thing. I mean, that's something that's informed like a lot of my learning. Like, you know, Rich can tell you, and, you know, several other people who see this video, like I was like in the front rows,
all the metaphysical,
all the classic lectures, you know what I mean? The Phil Valentines, the Bobby Hemmets, you know, the A.A. Rashids, you know, the Delbert Blairs, you know, like all of these different people. As a Zeal, you know, who I feel like, you know, doesn't get the type of, you know, props he deserves, but that's somebody that I've also learned from. And, you know, I learned from all of these people, but the one thing that all of those people that I named stress is the importance and value of books. And I just think that when you sit down with organic matter, it's just like a different experience. You know, like I want people when they get this book to, you know, just put down your tablet, put down your cell phone, turn off your computer, turn off your TV, light a candle, and just sit down and read and contemplate, you know, the visions that are coming to you as you're reading. Explore the concepts and, you know, just get into yourself, you know what I mean? When you light a candle and, you know, you sit down and read, you're interfacing with, you know, the fire element. You're interacting with the air element because, you know, fire can't light without oxygen. You know, when the candle burns, you know, like that creates water, moisture on the candle. And then, you know, the earth element comes in when you deal with these talking trees right here, you know, these books that come from trees. So it's really an organic experience. And I think that people will stimulate their own imaginations, cultivate themselves in a different way. And it's really a rich experience. And I wouldn't want anybody to deprive themselves of that.
Yeah, man. I mean, it took me a while to realize, this was years ago when, you know, the internet started getting real fast and Facebook and all that came out. And I started to realize that when I stopped reading and I was just on the internet, I stopped using certain faculties of my brain, and I didn't have the level of concentration, the level of patience that I had before the internet era. Yeah. And I would get real frustrated when my Wi-Fi wasn't fast enough, and you know, and the page don't load. That happens to me too sometimes. and I click it, I'm like, damn, Rich, just chill, give it 10 more seconds, man. Yeah, like, bro, chill. So I was like, yo, I'm getting too, I got this I developed this ADD with that internet era. So I definitely had to take a step back and, you know, not give up on the internet because that's important, but just also remember to utilize those faculties that of the brain, like concentration, and you do that by reading. Reading is one of the main ways of you know, doing that. So I definitely appreciate your work, brother. Let's get into this book, man. The Treasures of Darkness, man. I'm hearing about it. You're advertising it. It's like what people have been waiting for you to come out with for a long time. Yes. What are you dealing with this book, brother? Because like you said, you have a very unique way of writing. So talk to me about that.
Thanks. Thank you very much. You know, The Treasures of Darkness is really that rare gold that, you know, lucky people seem to find in unsuspecting places. You know what I mean? And I think that the entire book really speaks to that. I think that people who come to the book, if they have any preconceived notions of like what they're going to be getting, you know, I think a lot of that is going to be shattered in the best possible way, you know, in terms of just the amount of value and rich original ideas and information that they get. So basically, the way the book is, you know, like formatted for the most part, is that, you know, like I represent different subjects that pertain to consciousness, spiritual knowledge, and I represent that body of information as a particular type of jewel or gemstone. And the reader is on this journey where they go through all of these different chapters, all of these different sections, and in the process of going through all of these sections, they're accumulating the different pieces of jewelry that allow them to attain the treasures of darkness. So that's really what I wanted to convey with this. It's really something where when the person sits down and really gets into it, they really feel like, man, like I really like got a hold of something that, you know, like a lot of people don't know about. You know, like you're gonna find like a lot of information that will surprise you, you know, stuff that you've never heard any of our master teachers, you know, like talk about. And I don't consider myself in that vein. I consider myself like a person who's a student. But I think, like I said, I just can't say it enough. Like people are really going to be impressed with not only the writing, but the information that is in here. It's telling like, you know, people like what the book is about. I would say that it is essentially inspirational. It's an inspirational self-help book that is pretty much filtered through ancient spiritual knowledge, contemporary, you know, popular culture, and world history. To describe it in any more detail than that would kind of be like me putting the Taj Mahal in my wallet. It would just like do a disservice in terms of like the girth of and the breadth of the type of information that is explored, but it's really a treasure, and I think the title is very fitting.
Definitely. I want to ask you, like I said, I've known you for many years. just going to all the classic lectures back in the day. What has been, and you know, I respect where you're at right now. What has been some of your biggest challenges in terms of developing yourself spiritually to get to this point where you could have a book like The Treasures of Darkness? What has been, you know, some of your biggest challenges personally?
Wow, I don't think I've been asked that question before specifically. It's a good question. I think pretty much that I think holistic learning is something that is very gainful when, you know, it's something that you can like bounce ideas off of different people and like feed off of, you know, different people in a group setting at times. Me, I've done a lot of my research, you know, a lot of my, you know, learning in private and, you know, just like going in by myself. But I feel like there's something to be gained when you're able to, you know, like do that in a group setting where, you know, like you can like just ask different people, your peers, like different questions. And I think that in more recent years, the type of information that has pretty much like come to the forefront of what we call, you know, like the conscious community, conscious network, so forth and so on, has been type of information where it's not necessarily geared towards people developing themselves spiritually or, you know, even intellectually. It's more like an egotistical, like one-upmanship, you know, like this person, like, you know, just, you know, like going in on the next person and like pretty much weaponizing the information. So to speak to like what my challenge has been to some extent, I don't feel like I've been really hurt by it, but if I had to like answer that question, I would say that it's pretty much not having a circumstance where there's more people who are on the same page, and that page being just developing themselves, cultivating their minds, you know, looking at what your personal flaws are and trying to correct them and, you know, rectify them so that they're no longer flaws, they're no longer weaknesses. You know, you want to be in a situation, I want to be in a situation where I'm constantly turning my weaknesses into strengths. And I think that, you know, that can be a challenge at certain times when, you know, people go off course and, you know, go into different types of information and, you know, being motivated by, you know, like other things.
Like I said previously, you're known for being a very unique writer, a distinct style. Like we see these boxers or just basketball, certain basketball players have unique styles about them. Right. Steph Curry, you know, he shoots from damn near half court. Right. Nobody had that was something new to the NBA. You don't see the pull-up coming. Yeah, you don't see it coming because you never seen that before. So it's right. Like, you know, right. Some of the words you choose to use, like a chapter in your book, platinum pussy juice. An intellectual may see this and get thrown off because they're not like platinum pussy. Like, what is he talking about? Yeah. What do you mean? But could you describe that a little bit? What do you mean by platinum pussy juice? That section of the book. Yeah, that section was kind of interesting. Yeah, that section of the book is pretty much talking about, although it's kind of like a theme throughout the book, that particular section of the book is, you know, exploring the whole theme of spirituality through the exploration of, you know, like sexual energy. You know, like there's like a lot of content that I explore in that particular section, dealing with, you know, male-female relationships, dealing with the relationship between, you know, like a parent and their child. You know, there's just like a lot of, you know, like things that are explored throughout the book. But in that particular section, which I, you know, like gave that title in keeping with the overarching theme of the book with Treasures of Darkness, is, you know, just to like really go in and explore sexual energy in a way that is entertaining, amusing, but at the same time not sacrificing the intellectual and philosophical sharpness. You know what I mean? Like, I think when people read the book, what they'll find is that the subject matter is very amusing. It's very, in some instances, you know, shocking maybe even, you know, depending on like what spectrum, you know, like a person is on with regards to like their reading of spiritual literature. But
either way, when it's all said and done, I think the information is very thoughtful. It will challenge a lot of opinions that the reader has on a number of subjects, not just sex and sexuality. So that was pretty much the intention, to like give each section in the book its own gem, so to speak. So the gem in that case, the metal in that place, the precious metal is platinum. So I made it platinum pussy juice, to be cute and, have fun with the concept.
Indeed, indeed. So why did you choose, as the people could see the cover? I mean, when people think of it's very dark. I mean, it's called The Treasures of Darkness.
Right.
What made you go with that theme? It's like, it's real gothic. It's like Dark Vader-ish, What made you go with that?
Yeah. I think, I was doing a photo shoot one day with someone, a photographer, and they took a picture of me at an angle. It wasn't an intention, but they took a picture of me at an angle in front of another statue. But the way that the angle in which they took the picture, it looked like, like there were wings behind me. And I saw it, I was like, wow, that's it. Like, that's what I want the cover to be, because I had already known what my opening chapter was going to be. And the opening chapter, I felt, fit very much with the theme of that picture when I saw it. So I was like, I gotta like go with that as the concept. But one of the beautiful things that happened as, like I continue to write after that picture was even taken, is the fact that I started to see the image in different contexts. You know what I mean? Like there are different archetypes within, different pantheons of spirituality that the figure on the cover, how I'm presenting myself, how it can be perceived, you know what I mean? So I just found like fun with it in that regard, like a person might read the first chapter and be like, okay, you're depicting yourself as this mythological figure. And then they'll read further on down the line and they'll be like, wait a minute, no, you could be that figure. And, it kind of like, changes all throughout. But at the end of the day, it all brings everything together and it all like captures the intention of what I'm trying to do, which is to inspire people with creativity and, just give like good information, and that was the intent.
One word that scares, I mean, regardless of what we've been through down here in this realm, this dimension, this Western Hemisphere, what we call black people have remained extremely religious, extremely spiritual. We always praising God. We always praising Jesus. We always thanking God. We could be dirt poor, live in the projects, 1 bedroom, 6 people living there, and grandma's praising God, praising Jesus, going to church, hoping for a better day.
Right.
Very religious people. What do you think of what comes to mind when you say the word Lucifer? You use the word in the book, and you've been to occult lectures, you've been to metaphysical lectures. For some people, that may scare them. What immediately, and the whole idea of blackness scares people. We've been programmed that black is just evil. What comes to your mind? What do you think of when you hear the word Lucifer?
That's a good question. I think that when people look at that particular mythology, it's very convoluted. Like some people have even made reference to the fact that when you actually like get into the actual Bible, the whole story of the fallen angel Lucifer, who's like God's like favorite angel who fell from grace, from pride, that story is not actually in the Bible. It's actually a reference to the king of Babylon. But the question like comes, to a lot of people, well, where does this whole mythology come from? And, from my research, I would say that although Christian literature that is really commenting on the Bible has, talked about it, the actual story that people are really getting at really comes out of, the Quran, with the whole story about Iblis, and also the Kurdish people of, the Near East, and their reverence for the peacock angel, Melektos. So between those two mythologies, I feel like that whole myth is fleshed out. And you also have like African mythologies where that theme of this great, powerful spiritual being who has some level of reverence, some level of grace with a higher spiritual power falling from grace. So I think there's a reason why we find that motif in world mythology play out in, you know, like different ways. But to get to your specific question, as far as like what that word means to me, I feel as though the best way to really know what a word means is to like go back to the etymology of that word and break it down from there. Because a lot of times when you get into, you know, like what people say, you know, a lot of times people follow research that is not really accurate, and it doesn't really speak to the truth of what that thing is. So when you break down the word Lucifer, the prefix look, or, you know, L-U-C, you know, that prefix, it denotes light. And the F-E-R, you know, comes from, you know, Latin fer, or, you know, in the French, I think, you know, it becomes, you know, ferry, which means to carry or bear. So the term Lucifer means to be a light bearer, a light carrier. And, you know, those people who have invested themselves in the study of spirituality as it pertains to us as people with melanin and pigment, there's a lot of, you know, places that you can go with that. You know, we know that melanin has an ability to absorb not only light rays, but, you know, like sound rays and, you know, like sound waves, and, you know, like convert it into like other forms of energy. So when I look at the term Lucifer, I look at it as a term to be what it really is on face value. You know, one who's a light bearer, one who, you know, is inspired, one who's moving forth with that light and growing within themselves. And in growing within themselves, they inspire other people to do the same without actually having that intent. You know what I mean? It's kind of like just living your life organically and being yourself, and in you being yourself, like you inspire people to be themselves as well. So that's how I look at the term. I don't look at Lucifer as something scary or devilish or, you know, anything that's pertaining to that, you know?
I think what confuses people is when they hear you use the term, or Bobby Hemmett or Dr. Valentine, or, you know, who else? Aline Bay uses it to describe, you know, certain things going on within the body. Kundalini, it could be a Kundalini force or whatever.
Right.
And then when they hear the secret societies doing these satanic rituals, they think y'all into the same thing. So they're like, oh, that's the black Illuminati. They doing the same thing them guys doing, because y'all may use the same word but have two different intentions. I don't know, is that what
I think that's the case. But like I was saying, I think the people who are looking at it as something more demonic and dealing with debauchery and evil and all of these different things, they're going based upon what is within, you know, the colloquial understanding of like what that is, you know, what's in the popular culture. You know, movies, you know, what we heard, you know, growing up as, you know, like children, you know, some people come from a Christian background. The pastors say, I rebuke you, Satan, I rebuke you, Lucifer, and all of these different things. And the word Lucifer and Satan are used interchangeably but like I said, when you really get into the etymology of what the word means, to say that Lucifer is a synonym for Satan, it doesn't, you know, measure up, because words have, you know, distinct meanings. When you get into the word Satan, for example, it comes out of the Hebrew tradition, and it essentially means adversary. You know, ha-Satan. So, you know, it just means, you know, a person who's an adversary. But Lucifer doesn't mean adversary. So to say that Lucifer and Satan are one and the same is not, you know, like too much accurate. I mean, one can make the argument that based upon how the mythology is presented within the Christian tradition, that, you know, Lucifer is what Satan was before the fall. So it's kind of like, you know, an Incredible Hulk, Bill Bixby type of thing. But, you know, I think people are better served going based upon like studying the root of what a word means when the people who put that word together framed it, as opposed to like going by what's in the popular culture. Well, a lot of times what's in the popular culture, if you don't have a context for it, will lead you astray.
Indeed. Excellent breakdown, brother. Earlier you talked about, well, in the book you talk about relationships in that chapter, Platinum Pussy Juice, and we're talking about spiritual resurrection, and we also have to keep in mind that, you know, one of the biggest problems in our community is the fact that, you know, the marriage is on the decline. People aren't with each other no more.
Yeah.
You know, people aren't in relationships anymore. Men are saying there's no good woman. Women are saying there's no good men. But yet everybody's on a spiritual journey. What I want to ask you is it possible for me to raise myself up, to elevate myself spiritually without a woman? Do I need that opposite force in order for me to get to that Christ consciousness, or can I do it on my own, being single?
It's an excellent question. I think that a person can definitely develop themselves and cultivate themselves being single. There was a time in my life when I was single, and I was doing just that. I was developing myself. But I don't think that the experience, and this is just me giving my opinion based upon my personal experience, I don't think that the development is as rich, and I don't think it's as fast. And the reason being is because when you're in a relationship with somebody that you love, it inspires you on a certain level that kind of like pushes the both of you forward, you know what I mean? And that's not to say that, you know, you in being in that relationship, you won't have differences with the person that you're with. I mean, that's always going to be part of the dynamic, you know, especially when you have people with different personalities, different backgrounds, and just different ways of looking at things. But you both come together based upon a recognition and a realization that you are, you know, different parts of the same being. You're different parts of the same mind, expressing itself in different ways. So I think that a person can cultivate themselves spiritually all by themselves, but from what I've experienced, like, it's just not the same. Like, you know, my lady, my wife, like, I've found that, you know, like being with her, because I don't think the way that she thinks, her love and our relationship has helped to develop me and cultivate me in a number of ways. And she tells me all the time that, you know, I've done the same for her. Like, I've helped her to grow in so many different ways and heal in so many different ways that she didn't think possible. So from my experience, you can grow by yourself, but why would you want to? You know what I mean? It's good to have that person to share your experiences with, share your joys with, share your dark days with, you know, in those times when you just feel, you know, like, man, like, you know, is it worth it? You know what I mean? You know, like all of these different depressing things you might go through. To have that person that you build with and you have a conversation, and at the end of the conversation, you both laughing and cracking jokes, it's priceless. You know what I mean? I would want that for, you know, everybody. I think everybody deserves to experience that on some level. But then again, everybody doesn't deserve to experience that. I think there needs to be like a certain level of development, a certain level of cultivation, because you can be of harm to other people if you don't have the right intentions and you don't have the right level of maturity. You know, that's where I stand with it. You know, like having that mate, that special person is very, very, very important.
You just made me think of something. The teachings that are out there on the internet, readily available to anybody. There was a time where, you know, you had to come to me on the street to get it, or you had to go to certain locations to get it, or you had to know somebody to get a certain Bobby Hemmett VHS tape, or Dr. Valentine VHS. Yeah, VHS. Yeah. Before then, it was cassettes. That was before my time. I never had a cassette, but I had the VHS tapes from these brothers. But because it's so available and this information, this is some advanced stuff. So it's like I think people are taking it for granted in terms of what it can do for your life. And it seems as though people only appreciate the information if it could help them get some money. Since the world seems to be run by money, it seems that way, and we live in a capitalistic system. What advice would you have for those who they may not even admit it out loud, but inside they're like, I'll get into that shit if it'll help me make some money.
What's the mojo spell to like get that money?
Exactly. So talk to them. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, man.
About engaging in this information.
To be honest with people, I can like give my like personal like experience with that. Like, I mean, I'm not rich by any sense of the imagination, but I have made more money every single year, of my adult life, and I think that a big part of that is because of me studying this type of information. What a lot of people, like I've even heard people say to, in my journey, like I've heard people say things like, well, this information doesn't allow you to make any money. It's just like intellectual masturbation. It doesn't help with anything. And they totally miss the point.
Yeah.
And when I hear them say things like that, I realize that they may not even have the correct psychological framework that will allow that type of wealth that they want to come to them, because they don't recognize gold when they see it. You know what I mean?
That's deep, bro.
Anybody who's rich or wealthy materially, they have a certain level of understanding of human psychology. If you don't have a genuine interest in human beings and how their minds work, you cannot become materially wealthy. There is nothing that I know of that allows people to develop that type of knowledge, both on an intellectual level and on a very visceral, intimate level of human psychology, outside of the study of what people call metaphysics and the occult. I just haven't seen it. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that it's not out there, but I just have not seen it. Like, you want to definitely be into people. You have to be interested in people, because a person derives their wealth by providing goods and services that are of value to people. So if you're not interested in people, then how do you expect to do that? And what is there outside of the spiritual sciences that gears people's psychology more in that direction? I can't think of anything. Anything that you can think of has a little bit of the spiritual sciences in it. You know what I mean? Even when people like come from, like different alternative ways of studying science, like epigenetics and all of these different things, like a lot of that material has elements of the spiritual sciences in it. So I would say to anybody, who has that opinion that, studying like ancient spiritual knowledge is a waste of time because it's not going to allow you to make any money, you're sorely mistaken. When you study the spiritual sciences, you're going to have a deeper understanding of human psychology. You're going to have a deeper understanding of the world, culture. You want to learn about different cultures, how different groups of people in different parts of the world see things. That way, when you interact with them, you're mindful and you're not disrespectful. Sometimes people are disrespectful without even knowing that they are. You know what I mean? And it's really because they're unaware of the cultural dynamics of the people that they're dealing with a lot of times. So you could only benefit. It's just going to make you a more worldly person, and it's going to be something that allows you to see things on a more subtle level, you know what I mean? And what I mean by that is, people who study spirituality, like they get into different forms of divination, like people who follow, Ifa, like they get into, like oracle and, how that works. And, people who deal with like Eastern philosophy, you have like the I Ching and so forth and so on. And, all of these different modalities for understanding and interacting with the spiritual world are really tools that help you to become more mindful in your day-to-day experiences. In other words, I feel that the real divination is you just being more aware and more cognizant of those so-called synchronicities that occur, or those coincidences that occur in your day-to-day life. For example, you might be thinking to yourself, like deep in thought, like, you know, I think this person, you know, doesn't have my best interests at heart. You know, I think that they really plotting on me. I think, like, you know, they might present themselves as my friend, but they not, you know, really there for me. You know what I mean? And you say to yourself, you know, I want like a sign of like whether or not, you know, I'm bugging or I'm tripping, or is this really something that I should really mind and go deeper with? And then you walk out your house and you hear a Mobb Deep song playing out of a car, you know, Got It Twisted. You know what I mean? Like something little like that could be like a little sign for you, an answer from the spirit world saying like, listen, man, you got it twisted. Like that person that you're looking at with, you know, a side eye is not really what, you know, you think. It's like really they're in your corner, but you just like bugging and in your feelings on some like, you know, other shit. And, you know, in other situations, you might find that they really are, and you really need to get away from that person. So I think that studying spirituality makes us more sensitive to what we're experiencing in our day-to-day experiences and how we're interacting with people. Somebody says something to you, and a person who's not spiritually aware may look at it as a little small thing, but it's really not a small thing. What they said to you is really an indicator of where they're at, what type of person you're dealing with, and if you're in tune, like, you know to like lock into certain things like that. And you will ask questions like, what did you mean by that? You know what I mean? So you could only benefit from, you know, being more spiritual. You know what I mean? That's where it's at.
Man, I definitely enjoyed this conversation, man. Man, like I said, man, in the underground scene in New York, everybody knows how great of a writer you are. And I hope that everybody purchases this book. Like I said, the brother has a very unique perspective, a very creative way of writing his thoughts down.
I can write it more than I can tell you. Get the book and see for yourself. You will not be disappointed.
You know, we're all different. I can act it better than I can tell it. So that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying?
We all have different ways of just getting our information.
We all got our own superpowers, so to speak.
Exactly.
But I mean, I got my whole name on this book. I got my image on this book. I'm not going to sell you garbage. You know what I mean? So this is really a good book. I feel personally that, you know, just as when I was coming up reading and I was, you know, going through like the classic books, you know, of like, you know, like my time, like, you know, looking at like the George, you know, G.M. James, Stolen Legacy, the ISIS Papers by Francis Cress Welsing, you know, Ancient Future by Wayne Chandler. I really believe in my heart of hearts that this book right here is going to join that pantheon of classic books by black authors who are writing on spiritual matters. So that's what it is. I mean, don't sell yourself short. Don't, you know, deprive yourself. Like, get this book. It's the real deal. I can write it more than I can tell you. And when you read it, you'll see exactly what I mean.
Yo, man. Hey, man. So far, so good for me, y'all. I'm on page 113, man. This book, out of 10, I give it a 10 so far. You know what I'm saying? So far, it's living up to the hype so far.
People are telling me so far it's a modern classic. They're not just telling me that.
It's living up to the hype so far. I can't even front, brother. So that's why I was enthused about this interview. So, you know, the more enthused I am about an interview, the better the interview comes out. So the interview came out great, brother. I'm happy for you. And leave your contact information for the people to get in contact with you.
Yeah, definitely. People, well, first off, you know, you can, to purchase the book, you can go to www.mindglowbooks.com, mindglowbooks.com, very simple. And people who want to like reach out to me via social media, I'm on Instagram. You can reach me through Mr. MGM Grand. And I'm also on Facebook, Adika Butler, and you can also, you know, see some of my older writings through my blog, thirdimax.net. I have, you know, literally hundreds of blogs on there, and they're all pretty long, pretty detailed research. You know, I give my experiences, I give you humor, I give you poetry, I give you sources. So it's just really a great blog. There's a reason why people talk about it. And, you know, that's it. That's how people can get in contact with me. But mindglowbooks.com. Like, make your next move your best move. It's a good book.
Indeed, Black Authors Matters.
Yes.
Black Authors Matters. It's important, family, that we have these authors out here that can relate to our everyday experience, man. Once again, thank you for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Y'all make sure y'all show support. Go to Patreon, sign up. Thanks for all the Patreon members that's already supporting me, helping me to maintain this platform. Or you can go to PayPal and show support as well. Y'all make sure you go to this brother's website. I should have the website at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the screen. Right. And I'm also going to have the the link in the description bar. So for those who are lazy, you could just click it in the description bar.
And I'm going to be at the Panic Lecture. So people who are in the New York area and want to like come in person, I'm going to be there with copies of the book. So, you know, come see me.
Indeed, indeed. And on that note, we sign out, family. We're going to see you next time. Peace.
All right, peace. Thanks.
Peace, family. This Brother Rich from UGR, urging all my viewers and subscribers to help support the channel by donating just $1 to the UGR PayPal account. We appreciate the viewership and support, and we understand the power of $1. If you benefit in any way, shape, or form, we ask that you donate $1, whether it be monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, or yearly, so that we can build our brand to compete with the NBCs, the MTVs, and the Foxes of the world. I figured since Kanye could ask Mark Zuckerberg for $1 billion, I could ask my subscribers to donate $1 so I could make the best possible content possible. The main objective of this channel is to inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. So hopefully throughout the years of you watching this program, you have
rich. I came from the Nile Valley. It's bittersweet, I smile sadly. Truth rarely seen like child's daddies. I'm in Hotep, I style flashy. Regarded highly, I'm Selassie. As time is passing, tribes are clashing. I know the ledge, I grow my dreads. My queen's two open legs have golden eggs, I'm hatched. 9 months had to hold my breath. Now I dream so heavy that I broke the bed. Provoke the feds that slaughter the sons. 12 get the 4-5 like a quarter to 1. The war has begun. Latin for sun, the soul and melanites get more of the sun. We the fortunate one. Got the God in the womb and the Lord in my come, and no more means love. Death is the source that I'm from. Everything that they do, we have already done. Self-taught, my ice a melt salt. Mine high price, I write and sell thought. I felt cloth, I cannot in cotton shopping. Aquaponic, chronic options. Botanizing pot concoction. Earth a thought, her twat is rotten. Knowledge of my art forgotten. Watch the conscious sovereign doctrine. Not dishonest prophet goblins. Boxing out the box, I'm boxed in. Black magic, black yoni, black phallus. How they turn kings and queens to crack addicts. How they make us lose our sight like bad glasses. They know we invented original mathematics. Black magic, treat home like at Sabbath. I can hear beautiful music and bad static. I attract cash in bags like that's Magnus. Last maverick, blast fast like Zab Jab.